structures and law to enslave and control all the men and the women of the planet that are ignorant to what they're doing. It's very unfortunate that that small group of men and women have decided to vilify anybody who should bring up anything that would be deemed as anti-Semitic. So I want to make sure everybody understands that what I'm talking about here is not anti-Semitic in any way.
Do people who have a faith, like you were talking earlier about the Jewish individual who,
yes.
Somebody who has a faith, under the law of being able to practice your religious, does that rule over the law of the land?
Every country that signed a treaty with the United Nations, the Human Rights Accord in 1947, entered into a contract with each other and the United Nations to allow men, women, and pure persons, notice there is a distinction there, their rights and freedoms religiously. Every one of those countries, Commonwealth countries, has written in their constitution that your freedoms religiously are ensured. The amount of fictitious court cases between fictitious bodies and entities that have decided that people's religious beliefs come first is not a small number. There's huge amounts of evidence to show that when you flex your sincerely held religious beliefs, that as long as you're not hurting anybody or their property by exercising those beliefs, and staunchly so, you can't be stopped. If I tell Revenue Canada it's against my faith and beliefs to submit anything to you because I truly believe in my heart that you're acting as a false god, you're a fictitious entity associated with a dead thing, I'm not a necrophiliac. I'm not interested in getting raped by a dead fictional entity. And so I need to know you that it's against, let you know it's against my faith and beliefs to participate in your racket.
So you're talking about taxes then?
I could be talking about that, or I could be talking about paying a bank loan that was obtained by a fraud. Once you find out this fraud is relative to everything, whether it be the taxes, whether it be your bank loan, whether it be your student loan, whether it be buying your groceries, you become aware that you have a different set of rules now available for you than you had before you acquired this knowledge. Once you have the knowledge that the system is running on a fraud, you can invite the ghost in. Once you have the knowledge the system is running on a deceptive nature and a note, you can step out of that. You cannot be intimidated to participate in a fraud once you have bold-faced, there's water on you, you're wet now, evidence that there is a fraud. And that's aside from saying it's against my faith and beliefs to participate with dead things. Shall not associate with or consult with familial objects. This is God's command. Not to associate with the dead. I can't be compelled to associate with a fraud or intimidated to associate with a fraud once I prove that everything's been obtained by a false oath. Faith excluded.
So how do dead things become a part of the living?
Another one of the bait and switch program's mechanism, when you can take people by a artifice, by a color of law, right under their noses, and convert their names to fictional entities, then you can control them as false god worshippers because they've given themselves up to associate with the dead, to gain a benefit from the dead. So it was used as a trap, as a device, to get people to submit themselves to the authority of men rather than to the authority of God.
So by not submitting to man's law,
you ask them if they have the authority to intimidate you to stray outside of God's law. Namely, don't bow and submit to false gods. You've got the proof that they're a false god. The Governor General advertises on her website she's de facto, or used to, She was getting so much flack over the fact that everybody was finding out she was admitting she was bogus, because that's what de facto means, and you can still see it up on my website, allcreatorsgifts.org, where she admits that she is Canada's de facto head of state. The World Bank, of course, where you'll also find there a clip from the World Bank's Operational Policy Manual 7.30, dealing with de facto governments, where they admit that a de facto government is usurped authority operating in a military format. It's right there in clear English for you to see. And you can read all the law dictionaries there as well, because there's many, many definitions that tell people that de facto means bogus. It's illegitimate, unlawful, usurped, tyrannical assumption of power. Once you know that, you have an opportunity. You can either go back to the video games, the couch, the comedies, the murder mysteries, the mountain climbing, the fishing, or whatever else people do to try and stay comfortable. Or you can want to find out more. So if you want to find out more, you'll go on to part 2. Because you will find that as you start to think about what I've already said, you're going to have a lot of questions, for one, and your mind may be a little bit racing right now, a little bit confused, because I've said an awful lot. And a lot of these facts you can find on that website that I just said, allcreatorsgifts.org, or the blog, which you'll find also linked near the top of the page. That will help a lot of the questions. But for more, part 2, and we'll catch you next time.